the easiest way to frame it is like you can think of decentralized finance as really the first application of, the internet of money. It's the first time that anything of value, anything of money is really put on the internet. Now, a lot of people might think, well, I mean, I can use my banking app and I can send money to my friends, but that really is just an illusion. Like, you can think that it's really on the internet, but in the back, it's still legacy systems that are doing, relying on old technology that is super expensive to run. And so decentralized finance kind of allows, just like the early internet, anyone in their basement could create a website. Well, for DeFi, anyone in their basement can create a financial application. And what brings with that is a lot of innovation. And just one simple example is when you deposit money into your bank account, you get like a small like rate, interest rate, like super tiny. And the bank in return takes the money that's deposited and lends it out at a much higher rate. And in the middle, there's this huge spread, right? 15-20% that the bank needs to run its business, because a bank is a very expensive business to run. But with DeFi, since it's completely new technology, you're able to cut the middleman completely, and have these new types of application where the user gets much more, a much better rate. Like, I could go deposit in DeFi and get a reliable 5, 6, 7, and even much more for the riskier appetites. And even on the other side, someone that's just wants to borrow, he doesn't have to go through all this process with the bank. He can literally just hop on into DeFi and borrow without talking to anyone, which is a huge, which is awesome for a lot of people. Like, I don't know for you, but I don't like dealing with my bank, and just being able to either borrow money or just lend without talking to anyone. It's a very freeing feeling.
We have a good question from Christina about how secure is DeFi, and that's a big question. Obviously, so right now, most of the projects get this validation from audits from external parties and like hacker groups that look through the smart contract code. And another solution is the insurance, because basically your security is limited by how secure the smart contracts are. And so there are different approaches to security. Seb, do you want to kind of touch on that question?
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. And like, how secure is DeFi? Like, the answer is, it really depends. There's some apps that I would probably trust more than a lot of financial services outside of DeFi, but there's also some apps that you have to be really careful about, because since the cycles of development are so sped up that it's easy for some bugs to appear, or some issue with a smart contract or something. So it's honestly, it's kind of like the Wild West. So like, with great power comes like a lot of responsibility, and like, you have to be careful in DeFi right now. Like, you can, like, if you want to have all of the options available for you, you have to be very careful about which product you decide to use. But there's a part of DeFi that, in my opinion, is extremely secure, that people can definitely leverage a lot from. And I think it would be unfair to taint a lot of very good products that are extremely secure from, kind of more of the Wild West type products that we're seeing appear.
So how would one know what is secure and what isn't? This is a good fundamental question.
Yeah, and it's one that, like, there isn't really like an answer to. Like, a lot, like, I think it's mostly about being able to identify risk. So it's to look at different products and to be able to assess, like taking Uniswap. Uniswap has existed for a while. There's been billions and billions of dollars that went through it. So it's very safe to say that, it is pretty secure. If it's a new project that popped yesterday, then that's when you have to like be much more careful and be aware that if you put money through there, you know, you might not be able to get it back because it hasn't been battle tested a lot, like at all. Also, like being a developer definitely helps around that because you can look at the smart contracts, you can look through the code, but that's not for, obviously not everyone can read code and understand what's going under the hood. So yeah, like most of the time, like it's really just about being able to assess risk. Like if it's something that appeared yesterday, it's an anonymous team, nobody knows the product, then that's probably the riskiest. Like if it's a team that's trustworthy, that's built stuff in the past, it's still a new product, so it's definitely more risky, but maybe not as much as if it was, you know, just some random people that built it. So yeah.
Yeah, I would also just add, just about the risk. You should understand when using these platforms, like what type of kinds of risk are you exposed to. Obviously, there's always the smart contract bug risk or exploit, but also, it's good to think of like what is actually like happening. Like, let's say when you're providing liquidity on Uniswap or something, one of the risks is impermanent loss. And when the whole DeFi just started, many people weren't aware about it and ended up like losing money. And so just being aware like what's happening, or if you use some aggregators or other platforms, there's this term of like money Legos on DeFi. It's it's very helpful to understand if what products are you actually touching. If you're using some platform that is going to use the other platform and that one is using the other one, you have to like really think about this chain of events, what's actually happening, and to understand like what risks are you exposed to. So, I mean, obviously right now it's very early for a lot of projects. And so it's a very risky environment.